So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
All right, everyone, welcome back to CBLOL English. My name is Dia, in case any of you haven't been watching for many, many, many years. And next to me, a much more familiar face to all of you, RMC. RMC, thank you for joining me on this fine morning for you, evening for me, and afternoon in Brazil.
Yeah, Gia, I've missed you so much since you've moved away from Vancouver. I've missed everybody. I've missed CBLOL. I haven't been on this split so far. I think this is my first cast for CBLOL. This split. It's been such a. It feels like it's been such a short time since the last split because of the way First Stand kind of rolled around and everything. We had no break from First Stand right to CBLOL.
First stand in Brazil.
True, First Stand in Brazil. So it's Brazil all the way. But it also feels so long. Like we're in week 3 right now. And VKS, Fluxu, Los, Loud, they will play their third round today. And yet, because of the best of 3, it doesn't feel like it's only the third round.
Yeah, this season, for a lot of teams, even though, as you say, we are early on, can already feel like it's getting away from some teams in a sort of uncontrollable spiral. Now, that is not to naysay any squads that we're going to be casting today, tomorrow, because we are going to be running streams on, I don't think we're doing Monday, but we will be running streams on Tuesday as the games will continue. There are a lot of games to be played, and of course it is CBLOL. There will be upsets, but in these particular early weeks of the split, I think that the value of these games and winning these best of 3s has been maybe played off by the fact that it's early in the split, when realistically every game is really going to count when we start looking towards playoffs.
Yeah, single round robin, there's not a lot of space for teams to kind of mess up. And with only 8 teams in the league, you get 7 games. So we're just shy of the halfway mark for these teams. And yeah, let's dive a little bit into our first match.
Oh, yes.
Today it is going to be VKS versus Fluxu. And yeah,
did I get that right?
Our head-to-head stuff. There we go. Yeah, perfect. And let's talk a little bit about it, because VKS, not to throw shade, or you don't want to throw shade, I'll do it. Yeah, because VKS right now, they are tied with Fluxu. They are 4th, 1 win, 1 loss. And if you look at the name value, VKS should not be really directly compared to Fluxu W7M. You look at their finish in the CBLOL Cup, VKS finished 6th, Fluxu finished 8th. There should be a bit of a gap. But then you look at the stats to come across. Kills and deaths. VKS and Fluxu are actually really similar. Their kills are pretty much the same. It's just a bit more deaths on Fluxu's side. Then you look at gold difference of 15. You look at dragon percentage. You look at burn percentage. And contrary to popular belief, Fluxu is actually outperforming VKS.
Well, and a big part of this has to do with what happened like during CBLOL Cup, between CBLOL Cup and Split 2 as well. Like the VKS roster has been in flux, and in a lot of ways, even though numerically we can compare these teams, looking at their results from last Split or even CBLOL Cup and looking at them now feels like comparing apples to oranges in a lot of ways.
And VKS as well, they've had changes of their own. They changed out their top laner, they changed out their bot laner, because they said apparently both had attitude issues, and there was like dynamic issues. And then Morteus, I mean, if CEO is open to the market, Morteus, you're great, but CEO is a really tasty transfer to pick up. Now, I do believe the draft should be coming in quickly. They are,
God bless
racing.
you. It's already there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. They are speeding through. VKS on the red side. Yeah, actually, we noted earlier in our preparation that this is the first time VKS will be taking red side this split. They've been blue side only up to this point.
Well, I mean, we'll see what that actually ends up meaning for them. I know that the red side, blue side debate has gone on, but with the split up of first and second pick as well, like how much of that is that going to impact the draft? Right now, the first pick for VKS did end up going over as Vi. I think the Jin Zhao is a good answer in general, but ultimately you're going to want to pair Vi with somebody else who is able to make those picks happen in the mid lane. And don't worry, we're aware that the feed is loading. It's back. We love you.
Okay, there we go. An interesting sort of first pick on the Vi. We've seen it a lot. It's a very safe pick, and it kind of telegraphs your team's idea here. You don't pick Vi straight for the team fight. It's for the single target pick off. And you pick Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao's a bit more flexible. He's great for the team fight in terms of his crescent guard, creating that front line for you. He doesn't have to get that tanky to have that impact. So he's great for team fighting, but he's also great for early pressure. And that just helps lanes in general. So Fluxu kind of just hiding their hands still a little bit. VKS, I think there's a little bit.
Yeah, and honestly, pairing the Rumble alongside Vi is a really good way to ensure that one person will die. Who that is, honestly, it's looking like it's going to be the Varus right now. as an immobile champion, you're going to have a bad time, especially if this Ari gets locked in. So I like the way that VKS are drafting right now, because
Mhm.
this comp looks pretty easy to execute. Dasamus presses R on somebody and they die.
100%. It's also, I feel like, comfort champions for a lot of these players. I think back to the fact that Weiser always used to he with the Yordles, like with the Gnar, with the Kennen, with the Rumble, was always a monster in the top lane. You can kind of leave him alone with this. Like you said, the single pick synergy with Vi, but Ari Vi as well is an incredibly strong combo to lock down any mid laner, and it kind of changes the way the mid laner dynamic might want to work, because Cody has been such a good user of assassins or sort of champions with agency, with mobility, and none of that matters when there's a Vi with a point and click cease and desist to follow up with the charms to the face.
Nautilus lock in here as well will actually help to keep some of this at bay, but I think importantly also brings a level of initiation to the Fluxu draft that they didn't have before. Xin Zhao can frontline, but in terms of starting a fight, you are going to need tools to do that, especially into a composition that, if you subtract Vi from the equation, is going to do a pretty good job of keeping you at arm's length. So Fluxu now have a critical initiation tool that VKS started with. The fact that they still have to lock in a mid laner, though, does make the bans for this stage a little bit more easy to target, and Aurora gets taken away first.
Again, transition to move agency away. Aurora flex pick as well. We've seen Curdy play it before in the cup. So I think just a general safe one to remove. Given what we've seen from Fluxu already, the Nautilus is a pick for another interesting reason, in that we're seeing more and more enchanters and hyper carries in the bot lane. But Fluxu, by picking the Nautilus, kind of signals to me that they want more sort of grouped up team fights. They're not caring about hyper carries from the bot side. So I'd like to see a little bit more damage or team fight carrying from the solo lanes that they have. And for Cody, unfortunately, a lot of times team fight does mean less mobility or less self-agency. And I'm curious to see if they decide to index an all-in on that with something like maybe, I don't know, like a Renekton for Curdy, maybe like an Aatrox or a Psy on the top side. And then for Cody, maybe something like an Azir, or he's played Annie once this split as well. I feel like Annie would be strong for the team, but might struggle a little bit by Ari.
Reorganizing my notes so I don't get confused in the middle of this. One of the things that is certainly not going to be confusing, Scion lock in here is pretty safe blind. You just slam a tank into the top side, specifically Scion, and it's going to be difficult to fully shut that down for VKS. I love the Callista, and is that a Renata insta-lock, or are they hovering? They're hovering.
Yeah.
No, it's insta-lock!
Yeah,
My goats.
It's a really good pick for team fights. Sure, I like that from VKS. They recognize that, hey, looks you want a team fight? Sure, we'll pick answers into it. Hostile takeover is just massive for stopping engages from coming through. And now, where does Fluxu want to go with this? I feel like if you keep going, if you try and all in on the team fight, it gets really dicey. I'd love to see Cody do something, a bit of mobility. Zoe would be great here. Talia is an interesting one. It does kind of flex away a little bit. There's some bulk power there, pick potential with it as well. But yeah, kind of Fluxu backing off after you see the Callista Renata combo.
I mean, I heard the way you said interesting. I don't imagine Talia was what you would have gone for here.
No, I mean, like I said, I prefer something with a bit of mobility for Cody. Like maybe an Akali, Zoe, like I was kind of calling for earlier. If you still want team fight, maybe Yone to come through. But with the Talia, I fear they might lack a little bit of sort of straight up team fighting damage. And we talked about the Vi Ari combo, the ability to lock down a single target and really punish it. Talia is going to struggle into that and into the Rumble later on as well. So from what originally felt like a really strong team fighting draft from Fluxu, and I heavily favored them right up to the last couple of picks, suddenly it just flips to the other side. And I'm liking Cade Stars for their simplicity and their straightforward nature of the team fight, how it's easier to just execute with the wombo combos. The only concern I have with Cade's draft is that they don't have a true tank. And they have to be a little bit careful how they approach the fights. If they don't get the initial burst down, they don't find the right targets, things could very quickly switch.
Now, you know me, I am a support enthusiast. There's a reason that Ivern is on the intermission screen, guys. I'm a big fan of being able to enable your team. And one of the picks that frustrates me the most, I love playing Renata, and it always sucks to play Renata in your ranked games because nobody knows how your W works. And in this particular case, in a competitive game where, as you say, you don't really have a true tank, but you do have somebody like Vi, who brings an immense amount of damage and lockdown to the front line, Bailout can be the kind of cooldown that covers for the fact that you don't have a tank, that lets your frontline bruiser initiate without the fear of being immediately bursted down and not being able to play the game. If I can get her full kit off while bailout is going, and in this particular case, Renata gets crazy value.
And yeah, I love that you brought up that point because I didn't even think about it, but you're incredibly right. The fact that you don't have a tank, but you've got another health bar works wonders. And this composition that comes through from VKS as well, it's, in the words of 4 all gas, no breaks, right? They go in, they do not come back out. They have to win that fight. So they're going to be picking up kills anyways, which is going to go a long ways towards reviving any member who drops early. You mentioned Desamis, you mentioned the Vi. She's got shielding, and she's likely to pick up a GA as well. So Desamis actually might become incredibly tanky with effectively 3 lives and a shield.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like the kind of thing that is either going to very quickly go VKS's way when we get to the mid game, or is going to snowball out of their control, especially if they are behind when we hit the 15-minute mark. Because we're not just talking about something like a Vi that needs to avoid being blown up, but also a Callista, whose strength is going to be in the early and mid stages of the game, something that they're taking advantage of right now by picking a fight at level 1.
Yeah, right away. They don't want to give Varus the space and time to get that poke down. They just want to kind of force all in. So they do have to be careful, though. There is a ward in the bush. I don't know if they're aware of that, and that'll allow Bao and Mochi to kind of just poke back. Mochi, though, getting the short end of the stick right now. Is that a heal pop just for mobility?
Just to get away from this Callista Renata, who are going to hit level 2 first, by the way. The rest of the lane's pretty even, although Curdy, of course, in top lane, does have the slight advantage of being Scion and being very annoying to try and kill in the early stage of the game, and great wave push on him as well. But it is this bot lane that I think both junglers should be paying attention to right now. For Peach, it is a slam dunk to come down here.
Yeah, and Desamis as well will need to come down to shade and cover his aggressive bot lane with how heavily they're pushing. Both sides going for the full clear. So we're not going to see any cheese. Bao and Mochi will just have to suffer for a little bit more. And pick up as much as possible.
Oh, he takes the turret shot!
Wow. Okay, you know what? Maybe that's why the Talia pick. Yeah, like I
mean, are we picking Talia because we think the opposing mid laner is inting? Maybe we do. Maybe we do.
It's a great shot. And the minion block as well, I think a big reason why that ended up happening. But yeah, in the past, Talia was considered a counter to Ahri. I personally feel like Ahris have learned how to play around the minefield, but we get to see a replay, and it just feels like Miryu stepped up a bit too far. And then the minion block that came through. It's his own minions, by the way, which actually stopped him from getting out.
Was that you, RMC?
Nope, no, I'm over here. Yes, man, I'm cheering them on, man. I like you.
That is such a, like, if we don't take the turret shots there, VKS are still fine. Miru's still feeling really good. As it is, the first blood going over to Cody, I still wouldn't say is a huge problem because of the lower damage, lower impact that Talia has that we talked about earlier. The real question is going to be, can Cody move on the map? Because if he can, that 400 gold is going to mean a lot more.
Yeah, and to a lesser extent, the question applies to Miru as well, because as an Ahri, you do want to be roaming out and impacting the other lanes, but against a Talia, you should be facing permashove, and she does roam faster than you do with the Weaver as well. So Miru, we'll see how he manages it. There was a stat on the side that they kind of flashed up there, where I believe was saying that Cody has won 3 out of 4 of the series they played against each other, and like 9 versus 6 or something like that each.
Weiser's already flashed, so he should be able to collect this kill along with Curdy Desamis, theoretically here to turn it around, but what an aggressive flash from Weiser. Well, having vision in the river, by the way, knowing that Peach was right there, really believed he had the burst to do it, and that's Weiser special.
It's rare that the Rock kind of messes up like that, but you know what? Yeah, when he does, that's how he messes. That's exactly how the mess up happens. And I got to correct a little bit the thing that you said there, Dia. Desamis wasn't there to turn things around. He was just there to turn around. Literally just straight up went, nope, I'm peacing out. I do want to focus back on this mid lane, though, because for as much as Cody did get the first blood, I want to highlight that Miru is actually still up CS, and he's pushing in. It's not Cody with the shove I expected to see with those rocks being tossed on for pushing. Miru is kind of getting the better of him, I feel like, once again, in lane, and we'll have to track how Miru moves, whether or not he's able to cut off Cody, and whether or not he's able to have impact outside of his lane as well.
And credit to the rest of VK, specifically Peach. They are doing a really good job of trying to keep eyes on Desamis as well, especially as he approaches level 6. That is going to be a big part of Luxu. We did mention that Talia's maybe damage isn't quite there in the late game, and that is going to be tough, especially into an Ahri matchup. But if you can Weaver's Wall into a play that you see coming, if you can act as a counter gank to a Vi ultimate, especially the first, I'm going to say 2, 3 Vi ultimates,
Mhm.
you can really set your team up for success, especially when Fluxu really just want to have a lead coming into the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, and speaking of the lead that they want, I mean, I think VKS wants that lead, or VKS needs that lead. While Fuxu might
Mhm.
want it, VKS needs it. Their comp
Yeah.
doesn't have the best scaling. Sure, they've got potentially triple health bars to come through once, Samus picks up a Guardian Angel, but you look at Callista's scaling, not the best, not the safest. Rumble tends to fall off a little bit as well. And you look over to Fluxu, they've got the infinitely scaling Scion, who already early on is starting to match this Rumble. Well, I mean, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Sion's the great neutralizer after all, but they also have the Varus that can scale as well. And to the
3v3 bot side. Samus actually manages to get back to the bush, and Miru's already here with the ult, picks up the first kill on Momochi, but now Cody's come over to equalize. Peach still alive, dies as I finish the sentence, and a flash of the wall from Bao will keep him alive as a trade of 1 for 2 in the favor of VKS. Still has them chasing down Cody. That charm a little bit longer out of range than Cody will allow, but in theory, VKS could collect the dragon off the back of this if they wanted to get a little cheeky.
I think CEO is feeling a little bit uncomfortable. He's a bit low on health, so they're actually going to back up for now, reset. But yeah, it goes back to what you're talking about earlier with Cody wanting to get the counter gank, wasn't able to find it. Ooh.
And then it comes into the charm as well. That is the Vi Ari that we know and love, and unfortunately Cody knows and hates very, very much.
I actually missed out that he had cease and desist. I was like, oh, he's just going to roll past the mid lane. I thought he used it in his last team fight, but no, you got it. He
like
had it
just
available.
6.
Oh, he didn't have it at the fight? Okay.
I don't think he did.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I could be trolling, but you know what? I love lying. I don't think he had it, and and the fact that he did then really works out. We'll take a look at this. We get to confirm. Yeah, he didn't have it.
Yeah, and the fight initially, it's VKS all the way just because they're faster. Cody does look for the counter gank, but that's one of the problems with a lot of these globals is there is sort of a lead time to get into that. And by the time the Weaver's Wall comes across, the fight's already over, much less when Cody actually arrives. And now Samus hitting ping 6. This is that sort of Vi Ari combo that we were talking about, or really Vi with any sort of assassin or CC in the mid lane. You just know you're dead to rights when they show up. And unfortunately for Cody, he had flash available. He just, I think, also didn't expect the cease and desist to come through. Maybe he also forgot that the Samus wasn't level 6, didn't use it in that fight, just not paying the proper respects.
I mean, it really was right on the edge of range as well. Something that is going to hurt a lot when you go up against VKS. There are a lot of things that you can feel like, oh, well, it was just on the edge of, say, being hit by an RA charm or being in range of a cease and desist. But those kinds of miscalculations late game are going to be tough. Early game, in some ways, more punishing because it's brought VKS all the way back up to even when they were just a little bit behind. That little lead, still really good for Fluxu. What they have to avoid is VKS getting any sort of advantage. And one of the big things is that we're 8 minutes into the game. Dragons are already spawned. The fact that this is delayed, I think, is already starting to favor Fluxu, if just by a little.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And for VKS, I'm wondering if they're maybe trying to use the dragon as a bait a little bit. They want Fluxu to fight them at this point. They are stronger. Bot lanes have hit level 6 as well. Actually, Mochi hasn't hit level 6, which I think is key. So Cade, if they want to do dragon, they have full control over it. They've got the Kalista, pardon me. They've got the Vi. Okay. I was wondering if the Samus is going to hop over the wall, in which case I was going to get a little bit apoplectic about it. But no, he turns back for the dragon. It's fine. He's going to take it. Yeah, Cade are still the ones with the pressure to snowball the lead. And their lead sits on the bot half of the map for right now. So dragon's the easy take. We're going to see Peach actually answer back on the top side. Go for the grubs instead because... yeah, I think it's the right call. Fluxu don't want to fight VKS early. Like you said, they don't want to give any more leads. And right now, they're not feeling comfortable, not feeling strong.
Yeah, really good way to just equalize this for the moment is taking the Void Grubs that I think in the long term really aren't going to be that critical this game. Nobody is an insane side laner that is going to take advantage of Void Grubs, barring some wild explosion of the Wiser Curdy matchup that I have yet to foresee. The fact that he picks up all 3 of them, though, could still really matter, especially when we get to mid-game fights. If Fluxu win a couple of those, they should be able to push down turrets a whole lot faster. And that, at the very least, is something that they can rely on when it comes to the later team fights that they should be able to win.
Farm alarm being sounded in the top lane as Curdy going to use the unstoppable onslaught just to get back to lane, make sure that he doesn't fall behind in CS, and that's fine. as a sign, your job is just to scale after all. You talked about barring anything going crazy and happening in the top side. I don't think it's gonna happen. Like Curdy,
Mhm.
this is the first tank Curdy is playing this year, I believe. Like true tank. He's playing Gnar. Doesn't really count. It's half a tank. But
Yeah.
the Scion, very different from the style we've come to know from Curdy. Last year in the LTA South, he was actually the solo kill leader. Man was just popping off. But this year, he's been much quieter about it. And I don't know if I necessarily see it as growth from the player now playing other things, what the team needs. Will them even be a step back in terms of laning prowess? And when you're up against Weiser of all people as well, like Weiser's never been the hyper carry of Pain.
Yeah.
He was on Pain Gaming. He's always been the Rock. And if you're just going to chill and power farm, I feel more confident in Weiser's impact later on in team fights compared to Curdy. And maybe Curdy will change my mind. But until I see a big team fight from Curdy, it feels like this is kind of what VKS is happy with on the top side. They're not winning that side. That's not what they care about. They want Mario and CEO to get ahead.
Ernie, meanwhile, very comfortable now that he's got plenty of magic resist built up. First item complete for him, and feeling pretty nice in the Rumble matchup for the moment. What I'm really wondering about is with this like first full tank pickup, how much Curdy's going to be able to make his impact felt in the team fights, because playing tanks, as you mentioned on Gnar, half a tank is a really different skill set than being able to play those more carry oriented top laners that can split push, that can make the difference, like we might have looked to with things like Void Grubs.
And that, I think, plays into how the teams need to have their identities fixed, right? Like VKS has always been the macro team. They've been better at playing the map than most other teams, at least last year in the LTA South when they actually did win everything. This year, they seem to have had communication issues. I know CL was just talking about it actually before this game in an interview with the Brazilian broadcast, saying that, yeah, you know, we've got members from all different countries. We've got an Argentinian, we've got Korean, we've got a person from Hong Kong, from Brazil. Like communication has been an issue, and it has been showing. So the early game, this game has looked actually better than what we've seen. I feel like from quite a few of the games already from Cade Stars, but it's not quite the same level of aggression or coordination, which is why I like the simplistic comp. Fuxu, on the other hand, I feel like I don't have a good identity for them yet. Right? Are they a team fight composite? Are they a team fight team? Do they like to group up? Do they like to play side lanes? Are they a sort of win lane, win game team? Kind of feels like a no for everything. So this step towards Curdy playing tanks instead, maybe it's them trying something out, seeing like, okay, we've got Cody, we've got Val, we want them to pop off. Maybe on the hunt solo right now, doesn't land a charm.
I mean, fair enough. That is a skill shot missed. I think Cody missed every single skill shot in that sequence. It was, I would have ulted him too. That was a slam dunk from my perspective. Kai Wing, however, does get jumped on immediately. A quick handshake does help disengage him from Peach, though. I like the way that both teams have been really aggressive about placing Vision on the spot side, especially with under a minute left till Dragon.
And that second Drake, the first one was just conceded by Fluxu completely, and I agreed with that call. Second one's going to be a lot more interesting because at the same time, I'm not confident that Cody and Bao are going to be on their power spikes. Bao just sitting on a tier right now, not even components towards completing that mirror mana. The Archangel staff, the Sheriff's Embrace might complete for Cody in time. It gets a little bit iffy, and if it doesn't, VKS are sat on their power spikes. They've got first items completed for the most part, just the top lane missing right now, but Weiser's got teleport, right? He can always go back to base. He sat on the components already. He's probably not far off from completing it. And then if both top laners TP to the bot side, it's going to be absolute utter chaos.
Yeah, Bork already completed for Seo. Makes me excited for this AD carry. Like the sort of execution that we see on Callista is extremely impactful. I think there are a lot of AD carries where they can kind of position however they want, and as long as they don't straight up int the team, that's kind of what they're going to do for the first 15 minutes of the game. Callista can change a fight. And unfortunately, getting your support caught out does cost her at least one tool. Nice rescue on Kai Wing with the Fate's Call, but that does mean one cooldown down for the Dragon that's just spawned.
Yeah, Bao actually answering back with the Chains of Corruption that with, so both AD carries down that, just the hostile takeover differential for Kai Wing right now. Miru popping the Spirit Rush. VKS are very proactive, but it seems to have backfired a little bit.
They're waiting a few more seconds for the next charm to be up. We got a teleport in here from VKS. Nice hook from the side on Momochi. Does manage to keep Peach alive for a few more seconds, but it is not nearly enough as VKS are running over Fluxu in their own jungle. A flash right on top of Cody takes him out. And VKS, despite whipping 2 engages, takes the fight handily.
I was really concerned by the initial engage. Like you said, proactivity might have come back to bite them in the butt when they burnt all those ultimates. Didn't find anything initially, but Luxudia, what on earth was that? The delayed Weaver's Wall from Cody once again. And Curdy? He just showed up for the family picture. He has a supple onslaught. He didn't use it to get there. And because of that, it is going to be dragging over to Cade. We get to see the re-engage of this. And notably, watch where the solo laners are. Weiser starts channeling the TP. And you actually see Cody just walking away at this point. He went back to farm bot before using the Weaver's Wall. So he's incredibly late. And yeah, Curdy does run down, gets there around the same time as Cody, but still way too late. It ends up being a 4.5 v3 before Fluxu really shows up, and you can't afford to do that. Cade wasn't even that snappy with the engage either. Like, that's just a Fluxu fumble.
And this is the awkward thing, right? We talked about how easy it is for VKS to initiate fights. If you look on the other side of this, you've got Chains of Corruption, which was whiffed, which is fine. That happens to everyone. But you've also got Momochi, who can engage a fight. That's like your most reliable way of starting fights. And instead, Momo's getting engaged on. If that sort of thing is happening, Fluxu realistically don't get to win the fight because their composition is meant to be the more aggressive one, be backing that up with a lot of damage from Cody and Bao. And like you mentioned, especially with Cody's positioning, you could tell they weren't ready for that. Now, we are trying to get ready for another fight as Momochi does get aggressive here. The Unstoppable Onslaught has brought Curdy into the front lines, and it's a temporary numbers advantage as Weiser finally shows up around this Rift Herald. 3K left on it. Desamas is in the pit to contest. Might goes his way. And VKS, they should be able to win this fight as well. Seo's still alive, keeps Kai Wing up while Curdy's forced to flash out of the river. They are right on top of Peach as he falls. Miru walking forward is getting beat to death by the Sky on a shutdown. Will go his way. It is still a fight that favors VKS. They get Rift Herald and 2 kills for just the 1.
And for the first fight, yeah, if we say that was a Fluxu fumble, this second fight around this Herald, that's just Cade fueling themselves. This is the Cade stars that we remember from last year in the LTA South. This is what happens when they look good. They enforce their will. And the way they peel back, re-engage, beautiful. I'm sure we'll catch that in the replay later. The kill, unfortunately, going over to Curdy, the shutdown into mirror that you called. Not the ideal person you wanted on. Sion getting tanky here is nice, but you really need some damage on Cody and Bao to finish off these fights. Here we go. Here's the replay. And we get to see this is actually after the initial engage already done. Highlight the fact that Desamas is in the pit and wins the smite fight. The fight then gets split by the Weaver's Wall, which is great, but they can't finish off the targets. They went on Kai Wing, but Cody and Bao, they can't get the backline. They can't get in there, and Kai Wing ends up buying so much time. Miru there, risking his life for the charm, but the rest of the team didn't follow up. That could have been more, but I think it's the right call.
I mean, I don't even know if that's the right play, to be honest. It's hilarious. And he definitely has the budget to do it in terms of the team, but stepping up into the Nautilus is tough, especially through a choke. I'm going to say, I think Miro made a mistake there.
They were feeling themselves. And again, if the team follows up, you trade mid for AD carry. Sure, it's not ideal because Miru had the bounty and Bao didn't. But yeah, if you can keep the Varus down away from being able to come back into the game, that's one way to keep going.
Yeah, I can see the mid laner in you. You're like, listen, I flashed forward for a charm. Why is nobody following up on this?
This is why I had to switch to support, because when you're a support and you're engaged support, like the team will follow up, or else you actually can't blame them for inting. Curdy eating 2 turret shots, does not care, but that is 2 members of Fluxu in the bot lane, while Cade are charging with Herald in mid.
Oh, nice hostile takeover as well. It might not look great because it doesn't land onto anybody, but the point of it, very clearly, was to make sure that nobody was able to step up. Desamas does mispilot for Herald. It's a bit awkward. They certainly could have taken that in the bot lane and gotten more for their money. Miru tries to make a play happen again. Hard focusing Bao.
Yeah, I feel like that's the fate of Varus nowadays in the current world of League of Legends. Like, just not having any mobility and not having an enchanter support in your back pocket, unfortunately makes these AD carries very, very vulnerable. And it's even worse because Cade's kind of in the lead and really quickly snowballing this. They're up 5,500 gold at just shy of 20 minutes. If you were even, it's a lot harder for them to keep going after Bao. But right now, like, Miru's feeling confident, Desamas is feeling frisky, Weiser just lays out a red carpet. There's just so much range to play for. 30 seconds, still Dragon. Both teams showing up early for this one. I think they're just trying to get vision control over the area and maybe look for picks, especially for Fluxu. Like, VKS compositionally wants pick. Fluxu necessarily because they're behind need picks.
And their way to make that happen is going to be through Momochi. I've been watching this Nautilus all game. We've been commenting on it, but
Mhm.
ultimately it's going to come down to more than just whether Nautilus lands a hook or not. It also has to be Fluxu in a position to follow up on that. We saw some serious disjointedness from Cody and Curdy in previous fights. When Momo lands a hook, you've all got to be there. And right now, despite not even really looking like a consideration, is Fluxu choose to deny the sole point by giving up some plates on their mid lane tier 2. Not a terrible trade, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually really like this from Cade. Like, you don't need that one dragon. You already have two, and dragon stacking isn't your win con. So you just say, okay, well, you got there first. You're feeling strong. We just aren't going to play your game. Cody losing half his health to run rotation for Miru, and Miru has Spirit Rush available.
Should have Charm up again soon. Is he going to land it? Instead, it goes wide and Peach is all over him. Miru, once again, feeling himself stepping a bit too far forward. Can you blame him? Yes. Will I? Yes. Should you at home? Yeah, it's up to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the lead, India, and I took the bait. Okay, so let's talk about Miru a little bit, because I do feel like Miru is one of the stories of 2026 so far in CBLOL. In 2025 and 2024, Miru was an absolute monster, a beast. You know, he kind of dominated the league. He, along with Cody, were actually, along with Cody, were like two of the best mid laners. And then Kaze came in, and it was supposed to be Miru and Kaze. But here in 2026, Miru's been one of the worst performers in the mid lane. In fact, if you do follow along with the fantasy drafting for CBLOL, you'll know that Miru's value has absolutely tanked, and he keeps getting caught out. Kaiwing now caught up, but Seo is the support here. He's the one keeping Kaiwing alive.
Yeah, and now Kaiwing does get the chance to return the favor, actually throwing out a hostile takeover that forces Peach to regroup with his own team.
Bro, Miru just catching strays, man. He just teleported to cover Kaiwing, and she was like, "Nah, I got Kaiwing. Miru, you're on your own." Like, Miru dies again right after respawning. Bro has spent more time in the last 2 minutes on the gray screen than he has in full color.
Yeah, that's rough. And you know, it can feel a little bit awkward when you are Ari at this point in the game. You know your team is ahead. You want to force fights that advantage you, especially because you have the mobility, you have the tools to do it. And I think it's you're allowed to have a learning curve.
I do feel like a lot of these unforced errors from Miru, though, it's almost over aggressive. Like that bot side pick, you didn't have vision control. The rest of your team has already decided we've given up Dragon. We're just going to rotate into the mid lane, but then you opt to try and fight that. Samus is soloing out Cody.
Yeah, that was a really nicely timed piece of assist as well. No chance to get away. Leah's only piece of CC was used to be negated.
Yeah, I'm just shocked by how fast Samus is. He's doing more damage single target than Miru is. Granted, he is also a level up, and Miru did just die twice. But yeah, that is terrifying if you're a Fluke. So this composition from VKS, I had some questions initially, but the single pick potential is massive, and that's what you love to see from the Samus as a player specifically. When he's on form, when he is fueling himself, and when he's stronger, that's when Cade feel like they're more willing to be aggressive and close out games quickly. And we're seeing that pick from the Samus really help to negate the proactivity that Fluxu showed in a very good fashion. I mean, Fluxu needed to find those picks. They found it. They're extending the game. And then Samus saying, no. We're going to slam the door in your face. You are not coming back into this one.
I am worried as we get a little bit later in that BKS are going to lose control somehow. That hostile takeover is certainly not a good sign as it relegates Kaiwing to what is likely to be a death realm. Does hit a nice Mikhails, but ultimately gets cleaned up. While Peach gets to go on a rampage in the jungle, picking up the kill onto the AD carry, by far the more prized member. You'll notice that Miru lost the 1v1 to a Scion in the meantime.
Yep.
And what ultimately that means is that Fluxu gets to start tickling the Baron.
This is like more than tickling. Yeah, they are going to flat out take it. VKS are not going to be able to respond to this. The Samus had to go back to base. Their bot lane is dead, so that's half your team fight potential gone as well. In a thoroughly illegal move, Fluxu, down 4,000 gold, are going to be able to pick up Baron and look for a comeback. And if you're VKS right now, you've got to reset mental. You cannot let that get to you. We've seen too many times to split already. Cade, they start out well, and then one mishap happens, another setback, and next thing you know, VKS is crumbling apart.
The thing is, this is a mental blow. It's also just a real and inescapable one. if they can answer back on Peach right now, as Thomas does get aggressive on him, an equalizer already used to tear this Xin Zhao apart. As Peach does fall, Miru's in through the back line, and this time has found Bao, who's 1 HP, but this time you're right, RMC, there is no follow-up, and the Varus is sitting around at 2 HP. You will sacrifice the top laner for this, but I, on your behalf, and on everyone's behalf, am furious that Bao lived.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. But hey, if you're a BKS fan, you take it. In Desamis we trust. And just once again, the second time this game, as things were starting to go pear-shaped for VKS, Desamis finds the necessary pick, finds the necessary catch, and this Baron power play is going to be a negative one for Fluxu. They're just going to be stymied. It's just a gold Baron, but they just get a little bit of gold, not very much of a push. And from that win, Cade now going to fall back, pick up the soul point for themselves. Cloud Soul in this fight, in this game, might actually be quite impactful with how much everybody is scattering. You get to see Desamis once again pop over the wall, level advantage with Weiser and Kaiwing in the back pocket. It starts as a 3v1, but because it's on Fluxu's side of the map, they actually respond faster. Unfortunately for them, though, Miru, now actually playing properly, manages to isolate Bao, punish him, and not get caught. And that buys time for the rest of VKS to show up. And now, with the numbers advantage, VKS able to close that one out, find at least a second kill. Curdy the tank going down. It's a good sign that VKS can still shred through that Curdy might be an issue in a front to back, but if they can get around him and then turn on him, Cade still have ways to win.
And long term, Cade are theoretically going to run out of those, as we're just starting a fight. Miru does eat a lot of CC, but where is the damage? Peach doesn't get over the wall. Momo trades 3/4 of his health bar, and now we're left without flash, without ult, and on the wrong side of the map. VKS recognize that and are coming in for the kill. See how they're able to start things off, as Desamis is going to be the lead for this particular fight with Miru on the way. That drops your team also. That definitely hurts. That definitely hurts. Into the GA does get popped. Our front line by Desamis ultimately will go down. The shutdown going their way, and somehow this wall from Cody has turned the fight. Zayo getting chewed through by Peach. One more auto would do it, but he stays alive and now finally gets the bailout popped as he picks up a kill to come back to life. In the front line, it is bloody. But finally, Weiser will fall. And to be honest, no one, I think, won that fight.
Not even us, the viewers. I don't know. Did we win that fight yet?
I mean, I was excited about the bailout.
True. We did get the bailout. First time I think we've seen it. This game actually popped through, keeping CO alive in a very, very dicey situation. Yeah, it was just a huge mess to come through. And this part reminded me of, like sheepdogs herding sheep. Because they were just pulling Fluxu apart. But that wall, yeah, ended up actually working really well. I think Desamis hopping over the wall was a bit of a mistake. And Curdy, we talked about him on tanks. First time on a tank, he did his job. He survived, and he was a menace. He was on fractions of health and still managed to buy time, stopping Weiser from diving that backline. I think that's what actually made this more equal than what otherwise it should have been. It is Curdy living on a hope and a prayer on his own, not necessarily getting all the heals, not getting all the help, but just slowing things down enough for Flux to equal things up. For VKS, we talked about their mental booming. Good to see that it didn't completely boom. They're still being very proactive, finding their own ways back in. That one sucks that they weren't able to win the fight outright, but they're not losing the fight. They're not losing the game. Things are still on a bit of a, not quite the edge of a knife, but not fully on the flat of the blade either.
Yeah, I think once we pass 30 minutes, it'll start getting a lot more sharp where this is balanced on. Yeah. Because especially with the soul coming up in just under 2 minutes, that'll be when we hit 30 minutes, and it'll be where VKS can either manifest the early game lead that they got in the Dragons in control of the map and give themselves another 2-3 minutes to look for the end of this game, or it'll be where things start to fall apart. And Fluxu's damage, their composition, just starts taking off in a much bigger way than VKS's will as they slowly fall off, especially if Curdy is playing properly, because this tank is the one thing that VKS do not have an answer to.
Yeah, and so far, I'd say Curdy has been playing phenomenally. I am not worried based on what we've seen so far this game from him. Bao might get caught.
This is the nightmare for Varus. Flashes away still, and the equalizer is going to go down. Seo is jumping around Curdy right now as Miru tries to fish for Momochi, but doesn't quite pick up the kill. Instead, he's going to get hooked in as the support dies. It is all coming up VKS for right now. Even with the bailout ticking down, Weiser will fall. And out of that, Peach will exit the GA and ultimately go down as well. It is 1 for 4 in the favor of VKS, and this is that lifeline we were talking about. This is that chance they have to look for the dragon and look for the end of the game.
Well, yeah, I guess they heard our concerns about the 30-minute mark because we just hit 30, and VKS managed to pull the lead wide enough again to be in the lead and in the control. And this is the combo that we've been talking about, trying to find Bao, right? Varus and a mobile AD carry. If you can just layer the CC down, you're absolutely going to mount him. And unfortunately for Moshi, he actually ends up just sitting in the Flame Spitter the entire time. So that's your bot lane effectively taking out the fight right from the get-go. Miryu has been handling Cody well. It's not been Cody who's been beating Miryu. It's largely been more Peach beating him, Curdy beating him. And when Miryu actually gets the isolated 1v1, he wins that out. So Cage Stars, everything coming out their way. They find the good pick. They know how to play from there, and they get the favorable matchups in that messy skirmish.
Ooh, Kaiwing finds the handshake as well, pulls Bao right back in. This Varus is being cyber-bullied, but it's what they drafted. They knew it was going to happen. VKS knew it just as well. They've ticked the right boxes here. Again, the dragon becomes a realistic possibility. I'd say they definitely opened that up earlier. It's funny to see them going for the kills as much as they are, but ultimately, not going to bite them. Each goes down alone in his jungle, and now VKS have got nothing better to do but take the dragon.
Yeah, Wiser can start that up. He was coming out of base anyway, so he'll just go straight to try and start that up. We've seen Kings coming down on Baron, VKS feeling like they might be able to take both. I mean, Peach is dead. He is the jungler for Fluxu. No smite available for another 35 seconds. Teleport actually coming through from Wiser to speed this one up, and Dia kills Dragons kills Soul. And Baron, they are getting everything on the map.
Yeah, and Cloud Soul is so good for VKS's composition as well because their ultimates are such critical team fight tools that they throw out a lot and are the ways that they initiate, the ways that they get picks. Imagine you're down an AD carry and the enemy team is running at you faster than the speed of light, because that's going to be Fluxu's reality.
And as if they needed another advantage already. They've been navigating the back of these fights really well. And I want to give props to Miryu because we did kind of flame him for getting caught in the mid game multiple times. And that's kind of what opened the door for Fluxu. But at the same time, now in the last couple of picks, it has been Miryu. Yeah, they're showing Kaiwing and his stats. Those are fantasy numbers, by the way. Kaiwing, if you picked him, he's looking real good right now with maxed out bonus. But a lot of that setup for Kaiwing is being done by Miryu. It's the charm that lands that makes the handshake so much easier. After all, you know, when they're busy kissing, you know, they're not busy dodging. So with Miryu finding these flank angles, he's kind of made up for the bad early game he's had. And in this late game, we talked about the VKS composition. It's a lot about single target pick. And because Fluxu is getting their valuable targets picked, they can't even follow up on the engage and force a team fight after. They just don't have the damage to win that.
You know, it's funny that you've pointed this out because I don't think it's Miryu that has changed. It's just the team is ready to fight now. The team is around him. And so it's working out a little bit better. You end up seeing, and Mikhail's used by Kaiwing, is that essentially negates the chain of corruption. Cody is just trying to keep Wiser at bay, but this Baron is doing more work than any individual member of VKS right now. They've just got to let the minions do their thing because it's on Fluxu to start a fight. And again, we're looking at Momochi to do that. Unfortunately, not in a position to even look for a pick, especially when it could go this poorly for FX.
It's getting harder and harder for Momochi. He's sat on 2 items, neither of which are great tank items. Those are support budget items. So he needs to step up and be the primary engage, but he's not tanky enough to do that without dying. And that's why we're seeing the chains of corruption from Bao being thrown out time and time again, because that's the non-committal engage. That's the one that won't get you killed if you don't find the perfect angle. And even if you do find the perfect angle from Momochi, I don't fancy his odds of getting out the other side of the fight alive.
Yeah, that is a give my life to the team sort of angle. Miru's landed a charm on Cody. He might actually just take him down, but out of mana now on the Ari, does have to back away. VKS aren't going to be able to push their luck too much on this. Miru having teleport up and actually bring him back and continue looking for this, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Fluxu could start a fight off this very predictable teleport, but VKS are keeping up the damage, keeping up the pressure, even as the Samus gets engaged on. Top lane is pushing in, and for your jungler, they will take a top lane inhibitor tower. The Samus will fall, and top lane inhib is gone in the favor of VKS.
Like you said, Dia, it's a give your life for the cause moment for the Samus. Was it necessary? No, but they were running low on the Baron power play, and at least this way they do break the base open inhib in the top lane. VKS not quite at the 10k threshold just yet for gold advantage, but 8.4 is significant. They're going to go back, spend the gold, set back up, and with both major objectives coming up in 2.5, 3 minutes, that'll be the key. It's interesting that you called out, Miru coming in and they could force a fight off the teleport. Once again, I feel like the criminal is not the one paying the price. We saw it in the mid lane earlier where Kaiwing's the one who gets caught, Miru dies. This time, Miru's the one who TP's in a bit of a dangerous situation, and Desamas is the one who has to go all in to survive. Cody!
Hero moment. He is going to kill Cody. Surely he kills Cody. Surely Cody dies. Cody is alive up on the top half of the map. Peach is going to go down, get popped into GA. But guys, Cody is still alive. It is another war crime committed on your screens. A Miru moment.
But we need to define what a Miru moment is. Because when he gets those charms, that's a Miru moment. When he gets caught on a side lane like that, that's also a Miru moment. Like, I don't know what's going on with Miru right now. He's coin flipping harder than... I'm trying to think which team used to coin flip the hardest. So which player? Like... harder than Red used to do back in the Aegis days. Yeah, he's coin flipping harder than Robo right now. Like, what? Those are Robo moments that Miru is having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because, like, as I mentioned earlier, I think Miru feels like he's playing the same Ahri, whether he's in a team fight or not.
Yes.
It's just, if the team is around him, he looks like a god on Ahri, and if they're not, he's low-key trolling. And it makes it incredibly hard to find this player. I will say, 36 minutes into the game, it is time for us to check back up on this. First inhib tower went down to that Baron. I think VKS could have gotten a little more for it.
Yeah, it's good defense from Fluxu. And we've been talking a lot about VKS because they've been making the proactive moves, but Fluxu's quietly actually been playing this game fairly well. They're just not terribly proactive. Like even this reaction to Miru coming in, you can see how quickly everybody just collapsed in on that bot side. On the stop play, unfortunately for Peach, Bro was just trying to get back home, man. But gets caught out, and even then he did kind of threaten CO. Like CO actually has to walk off the rest of this fight because he doesn't want to be there for the GA resurrection.
Makes sense. I mean, I would not want to step too close to the Xin Zhao either, especially when Peach is still a very real threat, especially to the backline squishies of VKS. And when I say that, it really is mostly CO. Miru has the opportunity to disengage, and while CO, yes, he's got the hops, he is the least mobile of the carries, and thus the target for a lot of the damage that Peach can put out, especially with the slows DC that Xin Zhao can bring. The focus, however, of this game has really shifted as Elder Dragon is up, and Fluxu, they want to fight for it. We're 37 minutes into the game. There's an 8,000 gold lead in VKS's favor, but Fluxu can't let this go.
I love how both mid laners are looking for a flag. I think they just pop up and see each other and instantly back off away from each other. The fight's still hostile takeover kicking off.
Doesn't do much. Equalizer does get thrown out here as well. Cody ends up throwing out a wall, but Elder not in a position to be rushed just yet. Fate's Call does get used. Sayo uses this space to walk forward. Could find the pick on Momochi, and he will. In the backline goes to Thomas, finding Bao. The rest of the team trying to follow up, but they get cut off by Curdy, who on the Scion is the sacrificial lamb fed straight into VKS. Wiser flashes forward, looks for Bao, again has to play respectfully as Peach is getting peeled off his backline and will be traded himself. It is a triple kill, however, for the highly enabled Sayo, and Bao, who in this brush has got to run for his life. Kaiwing plays things carefully, finds the handshake, serves it up to his team. That is a beautiful Renata finish to a great team fight for VKS, and likely Charm? There's Charm? Doesn't even need to land it.
You still have the last Spirit Rush as well. Miru now going to teleport directly into the mid lane. Going to try and rush this one in, push that through. He's got a wave, and it's going to be a second before Mochi comes out, but 20 seconds before anybody can actually push Miru off of this turret. And VKS, as their backs are not up against the wall, but, as the timer was ticking down, it's Kate Stars once again finding the right angles to kick things off. And props to Bao. You can see the amount of damage he pumped out. That's a lethality Varus, by the way. So he's not the best at team fighting. The fact that he's still pumping out that much damage, I think, is a testament to what Bao can do when he's allowed to do that, when he's got Curdy and Peach creating that space for him.
Yeah, real credit to Curdy and Peach, that fight. This was close because of the peel that they were able to give Bao, because Bao does get flashed on and cease and desisted by Desamas. In most situations, a Varus dies.
Yeah, and you can see it's going to be right about here that it goes through. And Peach with the Crescent Guard kicked everybody off. Curdy covers the other side. And right there, it isolates the Samus. And there was a second where I was worried because if the Samus is the jungler and he dies, Fuxu can just back off, wait for everybody to come back up before they go in for the Elder once again. But VKS had blood in their eyes. They smelt it. They knew they could finish it. And they just challenged all the way through Elder. Miru, please don't die with Elder and Baron. Okay, the rest of the team is finally here.
Now he can really play the game. Oh, Peach does flash on him. Going golden is Miru and should have a charm up for as soon as this GA is over. Peach is going to die, get double executed through the GA. VKS now have a numbers advantage, an objective advantage, a gold advantage. Everything is in their advantage, and surely they're able to finish off the game here.
12,000 gold. Miru sprinting with the next wave to come in with the Baron. Open inhibitor on the top side. And Fluxu, without Peach, it's an Elder. You don't want to fight an Eldered up team, but you kind of have no choice when they're pushing in to your Nexus turrets. And now looking at Momochi, looking at Curdy, can they find a pick? Can they find Engage? Or heck, even Cody, actually, he's the one with the flicks.
You got to remember that with the respawn coming in, Fluxu don't really have the opportunity to find an Engage, especially with Momo forced to be on kill duty for Bao, and that does not work out for him. He gets blown up. The Elder is all up in Fluxu's face, and they're looking for Bao. They have not given up on that dream that they had, looking to even dive the fountain for him. Bao will fall, as will the Nexus, finding the first win of this series. Cade look confident, which is odd given how close they were to the tipping point of their composition so many times.
Yeah, and you can see the smiles on their faces. I mean, again, it's such a weird situation where normally you'd see VKS versus Fuxu W7M and you think top team versus bottom team sort of deal. But you can tell from the looks on their faces of the 8 stars players that they are happy with this win, whether it be because they weren't feeling confident coming into the week, or whether they feel like they've been improving their gameplay. Either way, props to VKS, props for how they close that out. Good guy to Samus even sacrificing his KDA to puff up CEOs a little bit on that fountain dive towards the end there. And yeah, for Fuxu, I hate to say it, but it kind of feels like business as usual. They've got certain good moments, especially towards the early mid game, but then it just feels like they're lacking that finish. They don't have that identity, and it just feels like they kind of run out of gas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back on this in a couple of the team fights, especially that final one that we had around Elder, like the real final one when the game was actually decided. I really, I mean, I said at the time, I really liked the way that Peach played. I really liked the way that Curdy played. I think this was a really solid game, solid series. Solid start to the series from Fluxu. And while I was here going, Miru this, Miru that, what's going on? I wasn't looking at Fluxu going, they're inting, what's going on? They're fine. They're doing okay. They lost the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to that productivity we're talking about, right? When you see a team be solid, but as casters, we're never mentioning their name. If we're not going out individual players from them, then something's missing, right? And as much as we talk about Curdy having a quietly good defensive game, and he was creating all that space, as much as we talk about, Peach being able to protect Cody, the game isn't won, protect Bao, pardon me. The game isn't won by you protecting or not making mistakes necessarily. It's by you making the right plays. And we didn't talk about Curdy fighting engages. We never spoke about Momochi finding engages on that Nautilus.
We spoke about him not finding engages.
Exactly. And this is the Enchantress support meta. If you're playing an engage support, you need to engage. If not, go back to your Lulu, go back to your Seraphine. Heck, go play Yumi.
That's a cold way to finish the analysis, but it hits so hard. That's exactly where I'm going to stop us. We have got another game coming up, at least between Vivocade and Fluxu. We'll see who ends up winning it, because right now, bit up in the air, but Vivocade, they certainly had a good game one. Can Fluxu return the favor to them in game two? We will find out after the break. And we are back. Thank you for bearing with us during the break. I promise, I've been telling them to start the game. It hasn't happened. And I also love lying. I didn't text anybody. However, the one thing that we can look forward to is the second game between Fluxo and Vivocade. And that is certainly going to be starting up soon. You can check it out in this is the corner of your screen right now for
Yep.
exactly what's happening. The draft will be starting
Oh,
soon. So I'm going to kick us over to that RMC while we talk about the setup for game two.
okay, draft has been interesting. We were actually just talking about the fact that I feel like the CBLOL drafts have not been particularly stellar. The split, not just this series, but in general, they've been okay, but not amazing. And we were also really discussing sort of the potential pickups that we could pick for Cody. Fluxo W7M going to be on the red side with first pick this time. And yeah, look, the Talia pick, the more I saw it, the more I remembered, oh, okay, that's more for Kalista. But Talia isn't a hero champion. And when I'm looking at Fluxo, when their backs up against the wall, when they need a big save, it's usually through Cody. And I want to see Cody on a champion with agency that can make those.
Yeah, I mean, what we were lacking, certainly last game, was the ability for anybody on Fluxo to do that. We talked about how Bao was actually playing quite well. I didn't have a problem with how Peach was playing. I didn't have a problem with how Curdy was playing. These individual pieces were working quite well, but you do need a player who's able to bring that together. And as much as I love to blame him, Miru on VKS was able to do that with the way that he played Ari. It was hilarious. It went wrong at times, but man, was he putting the team fight together and chaining one play into another. If Cody could do that, I think we see some of the critical fights that we took last game turning around in the favor of Fluxo because the timing was right. They were taking fights just as VKS's power spikes were expiring, just when the early game was falling off, and it just wasn't working. So Cody needs to pick with more agency, and for that, they're going to first pick him Rise.
Okay, that's kind of interesting because this sort of hero is a proven hero. He's one that's just going to stand at the forefront and just be tanky and do the deeps. It's kind of Cody saying, well, I'll just do what I need to do, and the team will play around me, I guess. I don't necessarily hate it. There have been some interesting counters to Rise that have come up. I think that the two most notable ones are Anivia and Cassiopeia, neither of which ironically seems to be working, generally speaking. Like, on paper, it works well on lane, but when it comes down to actual like fighting execution, they don't seem to necessarily pop off. So Miru has played Anivia once already into the Rise. I wonder if he'll do it again. For now, though, with Ashe Seraphine off the table, with Karma Ezreal broken up, it looks like VKS are opting for Lulu, Yunara, big carry lanes, and Fluxo with the Corki Nami immediately to match. They are looking to be able to get that all-in threat in lane.
I mean, Corki Nami is definitely going to be a threat in lane. Out of lane, Corki is powerful, yes. Yunara Lulu is another kind of beast. In terms of the scaling, BKS are definitely setting themselves up for success because you had a really good tool in Sayo last game. We were asking questions about coming in, right? Like, is he going to be able to play the Kalista in these ways, in these hero ways, like you're talking about? And I think his team fights on Kalista were really good. He was covering for Kai a lot of times with the Fate's Call, but he was also getting really aggressive when it mattered. So I like that they've grabbed him Yunara early on. This pick for Wiser, though, the Ambessa top lane, it's a lot like game one, where I think this is going to be an implicit threat, but not realistically something that Wiser should be gapping Curdy on.
Yeah, and I don't think it's so much. Well, I do feel like Ambessa is generally a strong pickup, and with it being I want to say red 3, it's a blue 3, but it's sort of the last pick in the first phase. You get to ban away Renekton, and that's the really bad matchup that you cannot survive in lane. It also adds a bit of that threat onto Corki. One of Corki's biggest problems is the lack of range he has to really pump out the damage in team fights, and that's why Yunara Lulu a little bit more preferred, and why we're talking more about Nami Corki in terms of laning. So just more threat to come through from Wiser, make it a bit more uncomfortable from Bao, and then it's going to rely on Cody to potentially be a carry. It's going to rely on, once again, Peach and to a lesser extent Momochi to create that space and safety for Bao to be able to pump out damage.
The Orianna ban from Luxu, telling about the team fight that we're seeing VKS create. It's definitely potent right now. And what they really need is, much like in game one, a jungler to pull this all together. Vi and Zinzao, of course, not available, but who they're actually fighting around is going to be really interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing something. This is going to sound stupid, but I thought it, so I'm going to say it. I wouldn't mind seeing something like a Skarner for Dasamis. something that can play frontline, that can be a little bit tankier where Wiser isn't. But by the same token, I mean, we didn't see them pick a tank last game and it worked out fine.
I actually fully agree with you. I don't think it's that weird or odd. We did see Tatu pull out the Skarner and might be a bit of a Tatu special. Something with a bit more beef would be good. I was thinking now that, Xinjiao Vive been played, Pantheon J4 are banned out, Nocturne banned out. I was kind of thinking Wukong just for that engage. Aatrox, he's beefier than Wukong. I'll give him that. He does more damage than Wukong, but he doesn't have the same sort of ease of engage for the CC, and that puts, I feel like, a lot of pressure onto Miryu in the mid lane to find some sort of reliable engage. But mid laners, what's a reliable engage mid laner? Like, are we thinking like Galio here potentially to follow up on an Aatrox?
I mean, I don't hate Galio, right? You've got a lot of damage coming from top jungle. Galio brings a little bit of AP while making it awkward to itemize against. You've got an insane 80 carry to appeal for. I mean, I can't predict what they're going to do, but I like the Galio look.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a Mirror champion. We'll see how it goes. For Fluxu, they're going to round up top and jungle with beef and more beef into Yunara. That's a choice. K'Sante into Mbessa. That's a matchup we've seen before. K'Sante wins early, Mbessa outscales. Mundo into Aatrox is a weird one. I actually don't know how that head-to-head goes necessarily. Mundo has one of the fastest clears in the game currently, but very vulnerable jungle. And I feel like Aatrox in the level 1 invade might actually be able to take this. The hover of Syndra from Miryu. Okay, I like it. It's more damage that you're going to need to be able to cut through K'Sante and Mundo. And Scatter of the Week is long-range engage, albeit not a very consistent.
Yeah, it's more... what's the word that I want? It's more of a carry pick than Galio by a significant margin. And the thing that makes this scary is, again, because you've gone with basically a lack of tanks, you've picked the Syndra as your initiation or pseudo-initiation tool instead. You're basically relying on Wiser and a public execution or whatever Miru fishes for. And in the late game against the beefcakes that looks to have drafted, those should be able to be shut down. So VKS have drafted themselves into another situation where I look at their composition and I think they can get it pretty easily outscaled.
Yeah, I feel like damage in general just outscales tankiness at some point. Wait, is that right?
No.
You're saying
I was going the other way.
Other way around. So, okay. That's interesting, because I do feel like the Mbessa scaling outscales K'Sante, and then Yunara and Syndra are traditional hyper carries. But I kind of see where you're coming from, because, yeah, that's why I hesitated after I was thinking about that. Having a front line just makes the game that much easier to play. My big concern with Fluxu's drafting is that they don't have good, easy initiation. Right? If one of those tanks was like a Scion, which I know is bad, or an Ornn, something where you've got an easy goal button, then I fully agree with where you're coming from, that, hey, the skill is going to be really good. They've got the front line, they can kind of brute force that. But without that, they might get just shredded while walking in against the Syndra, you know?
I think I see what you're saying. Like, in theory, yes, this could outscale, but because you can't actually, as Fluxo, decide when you want to touch Vivocade, they should just be able to. I see that. I could see this being an issue. RMC, I don't know if you fully convinced me, but you've certainly opened an opportunity for me to believe in the Fluxo draft, which they will need to work, as this is game 2 of the best of 3. Fluxo, it is ride or die.
And this is why I don't know how I feel about the CBLOL drafts that I've been seeing, man. But it feels like they're usually lacking in some sort of way, unfortunately. And in this particular case, I think engage is going to be key for both of these teams, whether or not we see Miryu being able to land those critical scatter of the weeks to find the right engages, or whether, we see Fluxu finding creative ways to gap close to force these fights. There is no Ghost on Peach or Curdy. I know it's not common on those champions, but I was thinking of that as potentially a way to brute force the gap close. The only Ghost we're seeing is on Cody, and it might just come down to Cody finding the right realm warp, and that is a bit of a gamble when the enemy team would have, Syndra will have her orbs ready to scatter as soon as you show up.
Think about how hilarious it'll be, though, when Cody finds the insane realm warp. It is one of the abilities that can turn fights at an almost comical speed. And to see Cody pull something like that off does fit right into what you were talking about earlier, RMC. The fact that Cody's got to step up and be the hero here for Flux. Because if he isn't, we don't know who is.
Yep, he has to be. We did get to see the fantasy scores for CEO on the side there. Those were some nutty numbers, like 40 40 base points is insane. By the way, for those of y'all who do the CBLOL fantasy draft, it is worth noting that they changed it up this week. So from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, they are doing. Yeah, you need to join our fantasy league. They're doing Saturday, Sunday first, and then after Sunday they will do Monday, Tuesday. So I picked assuming it was 4 days, and I was wrong. So y'all now know that. Well, I guess it's too late. Everything's locked in. Hopefully, y'all picked the right ones for Saturday, Sunday. I did not.
I'm gonna have to get involved. I'm gonna have to have you teach me CBLOL fantasy because I'd play CBLOL fantasy. I think that generally quite fun. Try and figure out, especially in this league, who's going to do well and who is not. Right now, I do want to quickly highlight of our laners who is doing well and who is not. Weiser having a pretty good time up against Curdy. And interestingly, Seo and Kaiwing, despite having a slightly weaker lane on paper, the four first backs, before Sheen especially, do have a small advantage in the wave and in the push.
I think the poke from Lulu or the trading is more consistent than it is with Nami. The Nami Corki lane is more about the all-in potential. If you can land that bubble properly, like we just saw, it gives you a lot of kill threat with that Corki. Weiser now taking turret shots and still winning the lane despite the turret shots. By the way, that's not how the top lane's supposed to go. Yeah, Weiser's supposed to lose early. Curdy's supposed to get the advantage on the Kasante with better base numbers. And then when first item comes through, that's usually when the Ambessa starts to take off.
Remember over in LPL, we had an Ambessa taking Electrocute really early on to win the lane that way. It was actually a pretty good way of dealing with things that should be losing matchups. Weiser not even needing that. We get to test your theory, though. Does Aatrox win in the jungle? Peach thinks so, and Desamas seems to be on the same page. Aatrox getting the better end of the trade for right now. They teleport into the top lane from Weiser. Makes this kill a real possibility. Flash over the wall from Desamas. Needs to land one more ability, and Weiser will flash to secure first blood.
And that's the problem with Mundo jungle. Again, the clear is really, really fast, but you're not actually safe when you do it. The passive for Mundo is sort of a double-edged blade. When you take CC, you lose your health instead, and you don't get CC'd by the first instance. Later on in the game, that's wonderful, because you're so tanky, losing that bit of health doesn't matter. But early on, that percentage chunk hurts. Now, CEO just running Bao down after a failed all-in or failed trade from Mochi Bao. You get a lot of upfront damage from that, but the moment your burst is down, well, that's when it's Yunara's time to shine.
Yeah, she can take the extended trade like nobody else in this game. Take another look at how this worked out topside. You placed your bets right, RMC. Aatrox wins this 1v1.
And the rip off really doesn't help Peach either. The permaslow, the little bit of damage. Yeah, Peach can't get away. And Weiser picking this up is actually, I think, worse than the Samus picking it up or the side of Fluxu. Because now that top lane match, BKS fans are literally losing their minds. Let's go.
It's good news for them.
Yep, I love Brazilian fans, man. The Brazilian fan cams are, yeah, you know what? Bar none the best, I think, out of all the league or tier 1 regions.
And we're not biased, by the way.
Oh, I'm genuinely not biased when I say that.
Yeah, it was. Not to take a complete tangent, but I was literally talking about how well Brazil and the CBLOL did during the. You remember the LTA merger? Everybody remembers that fever dream. Yeah, I was remembering those days and how passionate Brazilian fans are.
They still are, and it's just unfortunately North America doesn't get to enjoy it quite as much. Peach now looking to enjoy a little bit of a gank of his own.
You have flash build now. Kaiwing, same thing. So just using minimal summoners, and in fact, you don't have to use a single one. Let's Seo walk that out. Wave's in a bad position for Seo to back, so the Samus being in the area may have to join.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if not for that last briefcase, I actually think CEO was thinking about turning on them. So again, that's the trait pattern, right? Like Lunara, Zeri, these sort of champions, they have a really good consistent damage until the Fiend Bolt Hunter comes through, and then in which case you just pop people the early first couple of crits. But if you don't have that, then it's really about the sustained damage to come through that Corki can't kind of match. So once all the damage comes out, then you just turn around. A similar thing with the Mundo. Cody back into mid lane after a back with the tier. He's going to be enjoying this one as long as he doesn't get hit by the stun. Basically, yeah, that trade is just going to be if Miru stuns, they walk away. If not, Cody's going to just keep pressuring up.
Noticing that towards the bot lane, Desamas was there to enable a full wave push, and it's at least bought enough time for Seo to feel comfortable backing. He's going to want Kaiwing to hold the wave, and we'll see whether that actually ends up happening, or whether Bao and Momochi get a crash, because right now that is the only lane in which Luxu are winning this top side, as we noted earlier on. Giving the first blood over to Weiser really hurts, even with how well we're seeing Curdy do now.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't trust that Curdy's going to be able to sustain that. One of the big problems with the Cassante and Mbessa matchup is the fact that Mbessa is effectively resourceless, whereas with the Cassante, he does have mana, so he eventually runs out on those trades and it hurts. We're seeing another 2v2 on this top side. Peach still not in a comfortable position.
Public execution. Peach, unfortunately, even on Mundo, not quite tanky enough yet. Weiser gets away from this pretty darn easily. The lethality of Syndra really showing up big there.
And this is not even late game Syndra yet. She hasn't got all her shards, but that wasn't a 2v2. That was a 3v2. Cody willing to kind of trade back with Momochi in his back pocket. But yeah, Peach is having a really rough time with this deal. Like 0-2 and 0 already. He's still keeping up in CS because of his farm speed, but he is giving kills over to the solo laners of VKS, which is not where Fluxu want to be. We already said before, like they kind of need to be critical members of the team. Like Bao will be a damage carry, but he's not going to have a ton of agency with the short range that he has in Corki.
I know that Weiser doesn't want this lane to be frozen against him, but surely he has an item. Like, surely he just slams this lane once he finds a reset. Bao and Momo do come down towards the bot lane and feel pretty comfortable doing so, as we'll take another replay of this crime.
Yeah, it was a war crime and a half. Weiser with the public execution, and it was lined up by Weiser, but just the sheer amount of damage they managed to dump in. Later on the game, Curdy will hit the point where he's tanky enough to survive, hopefully, or else the game ended really, really fast. But this early on, yeah, these beefcakes, they're not a main. They're an appetizer at best.
I'm still waiting for Weiser back. I'd really like it to happen. While I've been waiting, we've waited long enough that the dragon gets taken, and not by VKS. Because of, I presume, Bao actually managing to somewhat win the bot lane. Dragon gets picked up by Fluxo, which is a big turnaround from game one.
Yeah, Yunara not that strong early, unfortunately. I think Corki base numbers are enough to kind of keep her in check. And Gate as well, they're strong on the top side. They'd rather leverage their strengths in those areas, continue growing the lead. And I don't hate the idea. You can afford to give over first Drake. Not the end of the world. And as we kind of discussed in drafting too earlier, like the scaling for both these teams are not terrible. Like I don't think either team just straight out wins on scaling. So Dragon's soul might make the difference, but when you get the soul, it's not so important to either side.
And Desamis does get spotted sneaking in for a little bit of farm. Denying that from Peach is at least towards top side of the map. VKS know that they're strong, but bot side, Bao and Momochi are still going to keep them honest. Seo and Kai Wing haven't gotten a lot of jungle attention, and realistically, they're not going to get too much jungle attention. It's about farming this lane out and waiting for the late stage of the game where you really can pop off with the Yunara Lulu.
And the power trough as well for Yunara is kind of rough when she's on components. Bao gets the oh, he's not the Sheen, never mind. He built the tier, not the Sheen. So actually, and the Phage, pardon me. So yeah, actually, it's not the best time of it for Bao and Momochi. There is a window here for Desamis to change things if he wants, but yeah, the call just seems to be like, okay, so just die gracefully. That's okay, just or don't die, lose gracefully, and you'll be relevant later. We promise you.
I'm on the same page as you though. Like the Phage in place of Sheen pickup for Bao early on is perhaps just to not get burst out, to have a little bit more survivability. But I can't help but feel like Sheen would just have him dominating this lane.
Yeah, he just wants the additional, I guess, movement speed from the Phage there, just to be able to be able
Teleport?
to choose when he engages.
Miru has decided that Curdy will die, but that doesn't quite land exactly the way that he thought. Curdy still does die, but it's a whole lot closer. Well played by Curdy. Almost turned that around. Unfortunately, Weiser will still get the first wave into the top side. Well, Cody does the same thing.
This is why I hate Syndra, and also why I play Syndra, because ours just outplay buttons. Miss everything, doesn't matter, hit R.
Thomas does note Peach coming down bot lane. Still takes a lot of damage for this, though, and there's unfortunately not much that they can do, especially with Cody here as well. Realm Warp's available, and they're thinking about a dive. Fluxu really want these kills. They want the tower. They want everything. Bao tanks up the turret for just a second. Desamis actually pops his ult World Ender active. Theo gets a little bit aggressive himself. Looks to bring 4 members down here, and they don't get much.
And despite the fact this doesn't work out for Flux, I actually like the idea. We criticized Flux for not being proactive last game. They are being proactive now, and they recognize that, hey, both solo laners for VKS have no teleports. Bot lane is isolated, and we win the 3v3. Bao and Momoshi are strong enough, and most importantly, they can help pop down to Samus. Mirio actually thinking about walking down from mid lane, opted to recall and come from base instead, and we might just straight up see a lane swap at this point.
That's a lot of damage. That's no ult and dry there. Miru knows that he runs this lane and has to trade this with Seo and Kai Wing, whose importantly quests are not completed, which is a bit awkward for VKS. They had to swap earlier than they wanted because of that guy.
Yeah, Mirio's quest did complete though, so I guess they're feeling comfortable enough that, hey, we'll match the sort of quest completed people together. Wait, did Peach do that? No, wait, no, the Samus. I just
All
saw the
good.
case come across. That would have been hilarious if Peach stole that. Peach, by the way, has lost absolute control of his jungle. So that's one of the reasons why I like the bot lane gank, is because if your jungle is not your own anyways, go to the one place you have control, which is bot lane. Right now, Samus is just running the rift. He's got the Sunder completed as well. So he's just willing to keep walking up pressure. Look at Mirio and Samus now. They suspect Peach is in the bottom side. They do not care. They're looking for dives on Bao instead. Samus is going to go in and just take everything on the bot side once again. And Peach just has to back off. He sees the Samus and he's just like, yeah, I can't, guys. Like, Bao Moshi being shoved in. Like, Cody, where are you going? Why are you going home?
Yeah, this is really risky. The Samus gets to jump over the wall right onto Peach and saves his flash. Could have even followed up and likely found a kill onto Mundo, but I suppose still having maximum dosage available, Peach saves that cooldown, just expends the summoner, and everybody's happy. Well, VKS are a little more happy.
Sure. You know, we'll say Peach is happy that he didn't die, because he should have died in that situation. I think perhaps the Samus holding that flash for a potential skirmish or fight to break out. Dragon did just spawn as well, and I do think that should be where the focus is for these teams. VKS gave up the first one without a fight, but the second one is worth considering. It's worth taking. Kraken's there completed for CO as well, and Mirio unfortunately takes a chunk, but TP's almost up, so we can hold just 1 or 2 waves longer. You'll be able to TP in for this Dragon fight well.
Yeah, I mean, the ideal thing would be, you shove this wave, you back, you get whatever items you're going to get, and you get ready for the team fight that should be brewing. Luxu did pick up the first Drake uncontested. Could be in for a second Drake of the same thing as Theo and Bao extend their trade in the mid lane. It's going to be Peach that gets pulled back in. No flash on this Mundo. And with everybody flanking, Weiser commits under the tower with the public execution. We are diving Peach, who does finally pop maximum dosage, but only to live. And even that, only for a second. Thomas here to finish the kill as Curdy's teleported in, drags him under tower, and lends a shutdown over to Bao. It is 2 kills for 1. And this turret next for VKS, they're going to pick up a couple plates here and likely look towards the Dragon.
Huge props to Curdy from getting out from a very dangerous situation. I didn't think he was going to survive when he TP'd into the middle of 4, but they wanted to finish the carries first. They wanted to finish off the jungler first because Peach does have the smite after all. And that allowed Curdy to find the ult angle onto the Samus. But Cade Stars looking head and shoulders above their opponents right now. They look so incredibly confident. And yeah, I've missed Weiser so much, man. We call him a rock in the top lane, but bro is starting to roll down that hill, and he's taking out everybody in the way he's rolling.
Yeah, I mean, this was, we'll take a look back at it, a very fun way to start a tower dive that VKS wanted.
Yeah, and the thing was, like, Peach saw the Samus coming and went, oop, I'm in trouble. And then they were so focused on everybody else, they didn't see the teleports from the side. Weiser with the immediate public execution to kick things off on that dive. And now with the numbers advantage, you can see VKS are so much more comfortable. But yeah, again, the focus onto Peach, I think, is the right call. Going into Bao was probably a little bit greedy, but I don't fault them. I didn't expect Curdy to be able to punish the Samus that way as well. And surprisingly, yeah, CL doesn't look too happy. Everybody else looks
Why
really
is
happy.
Everyone disappointed?
It was just CL. Everybody else in the VKS room was happy. CL looks really tired, though. I wonder if it might just be like other things. Like it's a rough schedule trying to get this team to work together when there's so many different people from different backgrounds, different styles, and they had such a rough CBLOL.
It seems to be coming together at the right, or I think as you put it before the series, the necessary moment, RMC.
Yeah. The fans the fans have been very patient. I feel like this year in particular, a lot of the fans have been giving their teams a lot of leeway. We won't comment on Pain. The Pains actually know what's up. But like the K-Stars fans have been cutting them a lot of slack. And I know that CL feels very responsible for that. I do like the fact that after like last year, or after the cup, when they had Bowl, there was a lot of negativity going around. Even CL was just like, hey guys, I can only take so much flack for the team. Like eventually the players have to own back up. But this morning in his video, he was saying that everything's the team's great, practice is going great. We just need more. And being able to start popping off now against Fluxu buys them a bit more of that race time. And win or lose, right? They're just trying to click together. And this game 2 already is looking like they're clicking better than game 1.
Especially as they move towards top lane. Desamis, even though he's not on the big initiator, has absolutely taken control of this game, and Seo was able to make that work up against Momochi. This time does get focused a little bit as Cody comes up here, but Desamis gets to move into the front line just as he did before. It is a slow, steady, but inevitable Aatrox that is coming for Flux this time.
Just to think that was the jungle pick where I was like, I don't know if I'm sold on this one, but it's definitely paying dividends. Desamis, he just looks good when he's aggressive and he's able to get the lead and kind of snowball it. 5,500 gold at sub 20 minutes. The game, the goal leads are bigger. The goal leads are faster. I feel like it was what, maybe 30 minutes ish. Like definitely past 20 that when we saw this sort of gold lead come through last game.
Take a look back at this again as I was so focused on Peach and topside, and then I was like, oh yeah, Momo's just dying.
Yeah, and off CEO and Kaiwing, right? CEO on this Yunara has hit his item breakpoints. He's feeling really, really strong right now. Bao, though, I would like to highlight, was trying to pump out damage. But remember, we talked about the issues for Corki. It's range. And you can see right there, without the front line, without Peach and Curdy in front of him, Bao wants to pump out damage, but he's mostly using abilities, which is a big burst of damage, but then the cooldowns take a lot more time, whereas CEO is just able to consistently fire. And I love that CEO is confident and comfortable enough that even when he's being attacked, he's not worried about trying to create the space for safety. He knows he can take a certain amount of damage with Kaiwing in his back pocket. So instead, he just stands there and goes turret style on everybody. And yeah, he's as Yunara, that damage is only going to increase.
That's the real power of having a Lulu with you as well. You can afford to stand and deliver, as it were, because you know that you have an incredible amount of survivability and peel, even without Desamis coming over and playing the World Ender card on the rest of Fluxu.
Yeah.
Got a Rift Herald charge going down this top lane as well. Going to surely pick up a little bit more gold off this as they pilot it straight into the mid lane. Don't make it! Pain.
Isn't playing and probably wouldn't have made it either. Desamis taking a bunch of damage though.
Fortunately survives. Proof that Wild Growth is busted, by the way, as he makes that out, even as Fluxu could have found a pick. Weiser gets to move up towards the top lane. No public execution, so despite his little creeping up on Cody, they're both going to be coming out of this just fine, but it's a reasonable gold lead for VKS. They're definitely in the camp of the team that is winning this game, but it's not out of control. We did talk about how Fluxu's front line is really powerful, is going to scale quite well, and Bao's just completed second item. I think once he gets to third, it becomes much more realistic for Fluxu to be able to win fights, especially if VKS are setting them up poorly.
It almost feels like we're on the cusp of things getting out of control. And I'm glad you highlighted the fact that, Fluxu are about to hit certain breakpoints. The flash from Bao to stay alive, and Mochi almost dies, has to spend the ult just to create space. And that's the cusp we're talking about, right? They got 5,000-6,000 gold lead is significant. If they lose one more fight, I do think they're going to lose control. So they have to be careful about not getting caught out prior to that. Curdy got caught, didn't he?
Yeah, he just doesn't get to play the game. I mean, you could see him trying to make it out, but against Aatrox, there's only so much you can do. Aatrox with red buff again, by the way.
Every time we pan over to Samus just says red buffs. He's probably taking both red buffs at this point, frankly.
I think he is.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing Peach really wear the red buff. Always blue. It's a skin color, though.
Yeah. Mundo... Hold on. I was trying to think of an example, but then I was like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone wear flesh tones. Like, I think that wouldn't really work in the same way as I imagine it working for Dr. Mundo, where it's kind of like matching your clothes to your eyes. I will admit, guys, I'm getting a little far out to sea here. Let's talk about some League of Legends again.
skin color, League of Legends champion, something like that. Wiser does the public execution, does find onto Cody this time.
I can't believe he connects that. Unfortunately, no more CC in MBS's kit does mean that Cody gets out. It's ult for ult in the top lane. Not a bad trade, but if they're able to find Peach, this Baron is gone, and Peach has definitely been found. Gets knocked up twice, and Miru's here as well. Peach is dead, and that should mean Baron is soon to follow.
That is disgusting. And then this combo we've seen of Miru, Desamas multiple times now, where Desamas sets him up, Miru walks by, presses R, and knocks him down. And it's just that effective. 4-0-1 for Miru. What a comeback week for him. He's been struggling. If anybody picked up Miru for fantasy, he was a steal this week. I think he was the cheapest of the mid laners. So yeah, and the way he's performing, definitely going to inflate his points back up. Cody now without the Realm Warp available.
Yeah, no Realm Warp now, sir. Unfortunately, he's not going to have a great time as Ambessa extremely mobile, but pops the Ghost and the Phase Rush, and Cody is out of there.
And Cody's that annoyance right now for VKS, where it's like, hey, come catch me, come catch me. It's just a game of tag up there.
It works,
low
right?
key. Yeah, he is the hero that Fluxer need right now because he distracted all of them. Yes, they lose Baron, but they were never going to be able to contest for that. But they're at least able to pick up the second Drake for themselves this game. Only the third Drake. Yeah, it feels it's okay. It's only 22 minutes. We're a little bit behind on the Drake curve, but not hugely so.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, VKS composition, as we said, was going to have a little bit more of a fun time in the mid game because of the Syndra. I'd expect them to be a little bit further ahead, but they've really transitioned those leads to up around top side, where we saw them get the Rift Herald and the Grubs, and Wiser is dying, so I'm going to just, calm that for a second. The rest of VKS is coming over, though, and Wiser gets to make it out with the implied pressure of the rest of VKS coming over and aping the rest of the team. Purdy is being focused inside the base as the turret goes down and eats the full Syndra ult, or ultimately being able to back away. Now it's Wiser's turn as he's got 3 members of Fluxu on him, and he's still killing Momo. He picks up the kill as Desamas goes to sub 300 HP before getting away. Miru flashes out as well, but now it's Peach in the front line alone for Fluxu as Wiser forces him back in through the gates of his own base. It is one inhibitor tower, and the next up on the chopping block in the favor of VKS.
Cody eating a bunch of damage under his own turret. And I want to highlight too, VKS went to reinforce Wiser by walking through that turret. If that turret wasn't there, Peach dies. Cody probably dies. It's kind of rough. Cody now finally rejoining his team. But Rise trying to wave clear into the face of this is iffy at best.
Yeah, he is not having a good time. Instead, just having to deal with Miru, who does do a lot of damage too, but not quite enough to push VKS out of the base. They do eventually leave on their own terms. Only one inhibitor secured. They left the second one, the bot lane inhibitor, still up. And with 3 minutes left on both objectives, the odds that they come back and just try and push their luck on a bot lane inhib, pretty high.
I don't think there's really anything else for them to look for. This is the second time, by the way, that Wiser starts fighting. So he, as you said, kind of got caught out early, had to go back to base, teleports back in, and a beautiful bubble from Mochi, but it's not up. There we go. There's a happy seal. I wonder what the difference is between the last time we saw him this time. I thought this was kind of sloppier, not gonna lie. Funnier, but sloppier.
It is funnier. He just likes a good laugh. It's the second time that we see Wiser teleport and immediately ult Momochi out of the TP. If I'm Momo, the next time I see a teleport, I'm 1,800 Teemos away.
He has to be there to get the bubble. Like, the bubble is what caused the damage.
Yeah.
Or sets up for the damage. It's rough for Mochi. Mochi has to do what he needs for the team. Desamas, though, taking a bit of a beating. Bao starting to come online, but Sio showing that he's no slouch either.
And Bao's very nearly at the 3-item mark. We did foreshadow as the potential turning point for Fluxu. You want to make sure not to lose too much control of this game, and VKS are pushing the boundaries of that. Bao gets aggressive on Seo and almost kills him, even forcing out the wild growth. This Corki is absolutely enabled. Once again, we've got an ult out of Wiser, this time onto Peach, that manages to take him down. 1 kill in the favor of VKS. Still very much having to respect Bao, who is now down 1 frontliner.
This is not my Wiser, bro. Wiser is normally chill. He's just like the Rock, he's there to fight the floor of the team. Wiser is hard popping off, and I'm kind of liking this. Those public executions are kind of nutty with it. We talked about how Miru 4-0-1 earlier, now 4-0-2. It's all set up by the rest of the team, specifically mostly DeSamis. But Weiser's kind of doing his 5-0-2 mostly on his own. Like, people show up and he's just like, oh, okay, you're approaching me. You're sat on one item and components, Curdy. Peach, you know, you're like 2, 3, 4 levels down actually at this point. Sure, I'll take any and all of you. And I feel like the only person who's able to handle Weiser, I use handle very loosely, is Cody.
Oh,
Definitely
it hurt.
Jeez.
It hurt because Bao and Momo believed in themselves, but DeSamis was too big, and even if he wasn't, Kai Wing was right there. That is a free pick given over to VKS, and a big source of peel, disengage, and enablement for Fluxu. The second inhibitor going to go down as DeSamis once again able to play the front line for the rest of Vivocade. Public execution is available for Weiser. He has found some crazy picks before, and Bao has got to be in his sights.
I'm just waiting for Mochi to respawn so that Weiser can ult him.
Oh,
never
look
mind.
for Cody. Weiser is still all over him, but Kurti manages to survive as Cody gets aggressive. Miru finds the stun onto Bao and chunks him down to about half HP. His tidal wave does come out. Momo respawn for the moment. Buys time for the team as Miru connects with another stun onto Cody and Bao, but Bao cuts him down. It is a shutdown going over to Bao. Corki playing the hero for Fluxu and keeping them in the game.
Has Vivocade Science gone too far? They kind of went a little bit too deep under those turrets. They were actually focusing kills rather than trying to tag down that turret, so the Nexus turret still lives, and Fluxu, with their dying gasp, they're still in it for now. And the damage that's starting to come through from Bao and Cody is nothing to slouch at. Curdy and Peach are also starting to get kind of tanky.
Third item done on Bao.
Yeah, and Momochi actually, let's talk about Momochi for a second, because I know we joked a lot about Momochi just getting hard focused by Weiser and just dying at the start of each fight. But you can see the difference when Momochi's alive versus when he's dead. He's actually a big part of their team fight CC and AoE, not just with the tidal wave, but the bubbles as well. So with the moment Momochi comes back up, the picks are possible. Without Momochi, you can see how much stronger VKS is on those potential dives.
Right now, Momo is unfortunately not close enough to save Cody. That was I don't even know what that moment was. That was just sort of depressing for Fluxu. You get your mid laner caught out, and you know what happens next. This Baron is gone.
And that's the first time Cody's died this game. Really unfortunate for him. He's been able to play the map really well, just run away when he needs to, but when there's that many bodies, it's not going to work now. So, point being picked up from Fluxu, but we've seen this trait before. 8 are focused on the Baron. They want to close out the game, and with only one inhibitor turret left standing, Dia, I think Baron's the better call at this point. Take it and the game. Weiser pushing in immediately with it. Weiser pushing in immediate. Weiser.
Auto the turret 8 seconds ago, Weiser. I mean, the recalls are long. Maybe something that Weiser forgot a bit. It won't hurt the long-term chances of VKS of taking this tower, though, because realistically, what are you going to do? Walk up to him?
Yeah, he's waiting for you to approach him. We saw Momochi moving up with Curdy, and Momochi just went, nah.
Oh, that's on Bao! Weiser finds the critical cooldown, but gets bubbled and forced to back away. Bao does use a lot in the form of the Valkyrie to get out, but critically retains his flash. With he and Momo still alive, Bao's got 3 items. We are right at the tipping point. Bao has got to save Fluxu because it is him or nothing.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to get in range. Weiser with the TP back in the fight, full health. Curdy getting tagged up. The turret finally goes down. Realmore behind.
Realmore behind Seo. Cody looks for it, but ultimately it is an isolation and destruction of Curdy that comes for Fluxu. Stun connects onto Cody this time, and Seo steps up to him, forcing out the Zanyas. The Samus plays the tank for VKS, and the front line is his own backline. Destroys the mid lane of Fluxu, and ultimately the nexus of Fluxu for the second and final time this series.
And smile indeed, VKS, the Samus that we get to see on camera. That was a good game.
Yeah.
Very few big mistakes. A couple of very, very minor ones, which never really changed anything. They were very proactive. Miru, I think you can see, feeling a lot more confident in himself. Yes, small Miru, because you finally had a great week of it. And for Fluxu, a very rough ending. That last realm warp caught me off guard, and I think it caught Curdy off guard because he got left alone in the middle of the entirety of BKS. The rest of the team's like, Curdy, hold for a second. And Curdy went, what? Dies. Like, he just wasn't able to hold whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, that was... The tipping point of the game, again, hit by Vivocade. Like you talked about, the team coordination is something that, yes, they're working on, But coming into and then out of this game, they had executed in game one right on their timers, right on when the comp was seemingly about to expire but was still strong. And in this game, I think they nailed that balance as well, where we were talking about Bao, how he was hitting his numbers. The front line was a little too inexcusably far behind, unfortunately, and I think that losing control of the jungle is really what did that.
Yeah, that, and I think Weiser just putting on a monstrous performance on Ambessa. Like I said, I don't remember him being that crazy on Ambessa, but he absolutely crushed it. The other thing that I also really liked from VKS this game was the decision making. Like, they let the dragons slip, which a lot of times we don't see in CBLOL. Teams drop dragons not because they want to, but because they can't fight. Or they walk up and die anyways, and then there's a dragon. But in this case, VKS made the very conscious decision. We don't care about those dragons. Take them. We pound at your top side, and we're going to dig 6 feet down, kick them to that hole, and bury them again. And then just go for Baron. Time and time again, they went for structures. They understood. Dragons help you win games, but killing turrets and Nexi is how you actually score that victory screen.
Yeah, and like realistically, the fact that they were able to cash in on that does speak to a level of coordination that is hard to achieve, right? You're giving up dragons, which you can only do when you know that you have the ability to finish the game, when you not only trust your team, but also, in a lot of ways, because it's Desamis yourself to be able to do it. Because Desamis was such a key player in this series, I come away from this, of course, impressed with the way that Vivocade played, but really feeling like Desamis was one of the biggest parts of that. Difficult for me to say whether it was the biggest or not.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Desamis as well. Always, his mechanical prowess is one thing, but to me, it's more about his shot calling in game. And when we've seen Cade do the best, it's usually when Desamis is on form, connecting with Kaiwing really well. In a way, I feel like the Enchanter meta, it gives a bit of leeway for Desamis and Kaiwing's communication, because Kaiwing doesn't have to roam quite as much, but Desamis still needs to step up. And in this series, for sure, I think we could definitely see that. Even if we can't hear the comms, you can just see Desamis making all these plays, like moving to those areas. It's always Desamis kicking things off, helping Mirio get fed, covering for Weiser, covering for bot lane. He kind of did leave CO and Kaiwing a little bit to try, but hey, that was the game plan. You've got a Yunara, she just needs to scale.
I think that this is a series as well that, like we said, it's early in the season. It's still pretty rough for Fluxu to go down here. It draws an important question to mind for Fluxu that you had asked coming into game 2. Who is the hero for this roster? Because we didn't really see one in game 1. And even though I was excited about the theory of a Rise pick for Cody in game 2, I didn't see them playing around this Rise. I didn't see a single member of Fluxu in either game that was being played around. Credit to them. They peeled well for Bao in both games. I think that Bao had a really good performance, but they're not playing to Bao early on. 4-man gank was sort of the closest that we got, and I think it's in the right direction. But if Fluxu want to succeed, they have got to be investing more early and often, and that has to come from everyone, specifically Peach.
Yeah, and I do feel like we did see Cody try and be there. Again, you pick the Rise so that you can just do your own thing and then be a menace later on. But when your entire team's falling apart, when your front line just getting melted, Cody and Peach on repeat, what's a Cody's to do? And I in my head, it just like Cody is a hero, that's fine. But Fluxu need more than just one hero. And I feel like we've said this about Fluxu multiple iterations of their rosters. Like, who's the hero? Last split or last year, they had House, and House stepped in, and I thought House did fantastically. But again, no quick carry, no help, and just one person in this day and age of League of Legends just doesn't hack it. So Fluxu, they're still developing, I guess. We're still waiting to see more from them. But at least for now, we know with their win over Lev, that might be the critical win that takes them out of the potential, not relegation, but the not playoffs.
Like
right?
cut off for playoffs,
6.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You just have to be 6. You just need to be not bottom 2.
Yeah, which is, I think, doable for this roster. Based on what we saw today, I think that, they can likely push their ceiling a little bit higher as well than what we even saw today. I think that this roster looks good, and while I'm seeing a lot of players that I think are playing close to their level of potential, you can of course get the extra inch out of that, but also out of the coordination that you're able to develop with the roster as the season continues. So I am looking forward to it. I will say the season is accelerating at a rapid pace as we have games today, tomorrow, and the next day. So there is a lot of CBLOL that's going to happen this week, to the point where if you tune in next Saturday, you might go, wait, these are not the standings that I recognize. So keep your eyes on the CBLOL during the course of the next few days. We will be back here on Tuesday. We might even be back here next game. I don't know. Based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think so. We're probably going to send you guys over to the CBLOL official broadcast, but we love you, and we will bring you more coverage as soon as we can. We'll definitely be back on Tuesday, and you will see tweets from the official account about that. RMC, I love you. Viewers at home, I love you. Anything to close us out? You're over here.
It was great to cast with you again, Dia. It's been far too long. Apex gets to enjoy your voice. The LPL gets to enjoy your voice. Welcome back to CBLOL.
Yeah, we'll do it again soon. I'm always nervous about producing and play-by-playing at the same time. It actually wasn't that bad. I could do this.
That's right. Okay, yeah, better than me. I can't cast and produce. I can't produce at all, actually. My computer literally fries when I tried. So, it was great. And folks, unfortunately today, we might not have if you're wondering why we're cutting off, we might not have a caster set, or set 2, unfortunately. So, we are going to see if we manage to find somebody at the last second, but if not, again, we'll be back on Tuesday as well. And there's still Gringos Liberados, where we will cover all the games, and we'll talk about all the games, even if we don't stream it here on the CBLOL English Twitch channel. Yeah, tune in to Gringos Liberados, and again, we look forward to seeing you, if not tomorrow, on Tuesday. Much love to everyone, and keep enjoying CBLOL. I'm going to cut and then give a raid to the OGs at CBLOL. Bye-bye!